Hello and good evening, everyone. My name is Afreen Rahman, and I welcome you all to a very exciting, very new session that we have, which is called Europe Product Week. So we have been all excited about this session. We've been waiting for this session. I think for the past 2 months, our product team has been actively preparing for this session, and we're so excited to have all of you on board. And it's just created this buzz, and we're excited to have our very first guest here today. I'll certainly be talking about her in just a minute. But before that, let me just give you a quick intro about Product Week. Now, Product Week at Insaid is usually, they're a week-long celebration, where we celebrate great minds, great product minds. They come from different nations together, to discuss anything and everything related to product management. Now, last year we had a blast hosting India Product Week, and this year Insaid brings you Europe Product Week and some amazing product managers from England, Ireland, Netherlands, Germany, everyone who's coming together. And we're going to talk some really interesting topics about product management, right? So without much further ado, I'm going to bring forward our very first speaker, who is Iryna Struk. And the topic that she has for us today is the first 90 days as a product manager, right? And I'll just give you a quick intro about Iryna. She's a product manager at HandsHQ, and she is leading 2 SaaS products that empower companies to keep their high risk teams absolutely safe. She's had experience working in both B2B and B2C startups as well as large enterprises. So she's enjoyed the best of both worlds, is what I see. Something that we all aspire to. And Iryna is, she is someone who wants to start or advance, in her career. And she also hosts these really interesting topics, on product management. So she has the, combination of the, the best of every world in product management. So Iryna, welcome to Insaid. Welcome to Europe Product Week.
Thank you so much, Afreen. It's such an amazing introduction. Thank you so much. And for having me here today as well. Thank you so much. I'm really excited to our first talk today.
It's an absolute pleasure to have you here. And do let us know from where exactly you're joining. And I see there are all daylights behind you. We are sitting in darkness. It's night in India, 8 p.m. Well, but we are still as excited to hear you. So, Iryna, just the floor is yours. The limelight is yours. Please do, take the center stage.
Sure. Amazing. Thank you so much. So I'm joining from London, UK. It's 4:30 here at the moment. It's going to be dark in about an hour, I guess, or maybe 2. So not too long left. But winter time is not, the best, but, we're getting there. Cool. Amazing. If I can share my screen now, let me try. Right. Let me know if you can see my screen now.
I can see your screen. Yes.
Cool. Amazing. Perfect. All right. So, as Afreen said, my name is Iryna. I am a product manager at a company called HandsHQ. And as was said already, we do software for high-risk companies mainly. So we have 2 products. Our first product is software for health and safety managers. They're primarily based here in the UK. So we are targeting this market as our primary market. We're also looking to expand into other markets. So if you're in a health and safety world or planning to be there, let me know, and stay tuned. I'll probably be expanding sometime soon. Right, our second product is around training management of high-risk teams as well. So what we do, we try to automate the very paper-based system that exists at the moment in most companies. So trying to digitalize the area a little bit. So that's what we do. We have our product exists in both B2B and B2C markets. So this is, I think, the best part of my job. I really enjoy being able to work in both of these areas, trying to speak to both large corporations, huge enterprises, but also smaller companies that are only starting to work on their projects in health and safety area, really. But it's exciting. Construction tech is very exciting. So feel free to also reach out to me on LinkedIn. I'll be happy to share more about the industry overall. Cool. In terms of verticals or industries I have had experience working at, it's both SaaS and e-commerce, which are both quite trending industries these days, as far as I can tell. So yeah, also feel free to reach out to me to talk about any of these as well. I'm also a Product Tank London organizer. Not sure if anyone has heard about Product Tank or attended any events, but it's a series of meetups really that are happening all over the world. I think we're based in more than 200 cities. So I'm sure there are a few product tanks in India as well. But you can also watch some of them online. We always stream our sessions on YouTube as well. So yeah, just feel free to find our YouTube channel on, it's called Mind the Product. And yeah, actually the next one in London is going to be next Wednesday. So yeah, feel free to join. I'll be there, and yeah, it will be great to have some of you there. We'll be talking about internal product management. But yeah, also encourage every product manager to really be engaged in the community, right? As all of you are here today, it's an amazing place to be in and share your experiences and learn from others. And so Product Tank is another one of these communities. So yeah, it would be great to have you on some of the events anytime you are visiting London or in any other city around the world, really. Cool. I'm also an advisor and a mentor, so I help aspiring product managers to start their careers and also advance in them. I also try to help smaller startups to define their product strategies and just to work on their product a bit more efficiently. So yeah, really enjoy doing that. And yeah, it's a very exciting part of what I do. Also feel free to pop your questions in the chat. I see your messages there, and yeah, we can have a quick Q&A at the end. I think we have some time allocated for that. So yeah, feel free to add them whenever you feel like, and then we'll cover them at the end.
Just one pointer here, Iryna,
Sure.
that I would like to add here is for all the questions that's been coming in, please add them in the Q&A box that you have below in the Zoom section rather than the chat box section. So because that will help us know what all questions are coming in. And towards the end of Iryna's session, certainly we'll have a Q&As around where Iryna can take all the questions, right?
Cool. Amazing. Perfect. Sounds great.
Yeah.
Good. Nice. Let's move on then. So today we'll be talking about the first 90 days as a product manager in a new company. I wanted to quickly cover why I chose to talk about the first 90 days, not about the first week or 30 days or I don't know, 180 days, but 90 days. For me, I think it's a very special time because 90 days is 3 months, right? 3 months is 1 quarter. And people and companies usually plan in quarters, years, and things like that. So to me, 90 days is exactly the right amount of time for a new product manager in a new company to show, to learn as much as they can, but also show how much impact they could have on an organization. So yeah, I feel like 90 days is the best amount of time really to do that. So yeah, let's see what we can do about it today. So the first 90 days as a product manager, what does it really look like, right? Imagine the first day you come into the new office, new company, or log into your new environment if you're working remotely, and you get access to Jira or I don't know, some other project management tool really, and you would probably see like a bunch of backlog items out of hundreds, thousands of them, and you're like, well, great, is this what am I going to do? I don't know, but it looks a bit intimidating. But I feel like that's the reality of our lives, and we have to all be ready for that. It's not good, it's not bad, it's just something that is out there, and we have to know that it is there waiting for us. So yeah, don't get too intimidated about it, but yeah, we'll figure out by the end of the day. I hope we'll figure out how to prioritize all of this and what to do really. Cool. I wanted to ask you, what do you think product managers do? What are the main responsibilities for product managers that are joining a new company? If you could give me a few ideas in the chat here, I'll have it on my other screen, so I'll be able to take a look. Let's take, I don't know, 20, 30 seconds for that, and then we can quickly discuss it. Cool, perfect. I see voice of customer, amazing. Product roadmap, research, customer voice, yes. Wearing different hats, absolutely. Communicate between all stakeholders, yeah, that's a big part of product manager's job. Roadmap, user stories, PRDs, yes. Product backlog, amazing. Product progress, yep. Taking functional requirement from the C-suite, yes. Product success, competitor analysis, oh my God, that's a lot of stuff that product managers have to be doing. Product metrics, market research, yeah, 100%. Amazing. Product metrics, finding current problems to solve, 100%. Yeah, I like the one about playing 360-degree role. Definitely, you have to be very versatile in your role. Understanding business requirements, value, product longevity, cost analysis. Yeah, definitely, amazing. Thank you so much for sharing these. Well, I've tried to add some of these beforehand, but I definitely didn't add all of these in here. But imagine us adding all of these ideas into this slide, and it's gonna look like, wow, that's a lot, right? How do you even manage that, right? There's like hundreds of things that product managers should be working on. It's crazy. But I feel like at this point, it's important for us to just understand what the product manager role is about, and then we can figure out how to tackle all of these step by step. So I think monitoring metrics, building the product, things like that are very important. But I think the core part of it is building the product, right? It's like a overarching hat that the product manager has to wear, and they have to oversee the whole life cycle of building the product and all things that are happening before that and also after that. So all of these things start from that central thing, in my opinion. And prioritizing, communicating, conducting user interviews, all of these are also things that you should be doing as a product manager, and they take a lot of time and effort. But yeah, I'm sure with time and with prioritizing your time the right way, you'll be able to get there. So yeah, let's see how do we gonna communicate that today. So today, the 3 parts of our session will be looking like this. First, we're going to talk about the common challenges that PMs face when they join new companies. There are probably a million of challenges, but I've highlighted the top ones that I could see people are facing when they start a new role. So we are going to talk about these, but also feel free to drop other challenges in the chat box, and we can discuss them at the end as well. And next one, we're going to cover how you can better plan your first 90 days. Well, first, we're going to start with the fact that, it's important to plan your first 90 days, but then we're going to see how do you prioritize all this overwhelming amount of responsibilities that you have to be doing when joining a new company. And lastly, we're going to talk and brainstorm a little bit as to how you can measure your success after the 90 days have passed, and also how do you define your next steps within the company? How do you know what to do next, and how do you keep successfully building your career in that company? Cool, amazing. If everyone is ready, let's jump right into it. So, common challenges. I know that before starting a new role, especially if you are a fairly new product manager, it's always very, frightening, I guess, scary to start a new role, right? You don't know what's going to happen, what are you going to have to do, who are your colleagues? Maybe you know some of your colleagues, but still, it's never easy. It's always a bit scary. So I definitely feel you, and we're definitely on the same page here. So what's the main challenge that the PMs face? I think it's trying to do everything at once. So all of these things that have been mentioned here and everything that you have mentioned in the chat, some people try to do them at once, and I did as well. So it's normal to be wanting to do that, but yeah, it's important to be able to stop yourself at this point and understand that you can't do everything at once, right? You don't have a million hours a day, so you can't be doing everything at once. So at this point, we know that this challenge exists, and then we're going to talk about how we can address it. Next one is jumping into fixing things right away. So this one relates a little bit to that meme that I shared at the beginning, which is where you log in and you see a million of things in your backlog and you're like, okay, great, let's start fixing them. And that's a common challenge as well. And yeah, we're going to talk about how we can address that one as well. And finally, it's being afraid to ask questions or look silly. I think this one is it applies to PMs, but also to other people, to everyone really, right? We all have this sometimes imposter syndrome where we are like, oh, I have to know everything and I can't be asking these silly questions because I'm going to look, not competent or as if I don't know something. So these are very, very common, and it's absolutely fine to be feeling that way. But it's also good to acknowledge that and then create a plan how you can tackle that, and also how you can feel more comfortable asking these questions. So yeah, also let me know, guys, in the chat if you share my thoughts about the common challenges. If you could put like pluses if you feel the same way sometimes when you start a new job, or even when looking for a new job. If you feel a bit intimidated or scared, let me know, please, in the chat while I keep speaking. Cool, good. So yeah, good to see that you guys feel the same. Great, love it, I'm not alone. So how you can overcome these common challenges. I had a few ideas that I wanted to share with you, but I'm sure there are multiple other ways to tackle them, really. But what I thought would be useful, and what also helped me, is first of all sharing with others about my thoughts. So essentially, if I feel like I'm trying to do everything at once, if I'm not enough, or if I feel like I'm asking silly questions, I would talk to others about my challenges, right? I would share that, hey everyone, this is how I feel, and do you feel the same way, right? What do you think about my way of doing things, or things like that? And it's always very, very liberating to be able to understand that it's just your own thoughts. It's not like this is the universal truth. It's just the way you feel, and it's not exactly the most successful way for you to feel, right? So it's good to talk to others. Can be your manager, can be your teammates, can also be your friends or people from the community, right? So just talk about it, and you're going to feel so much better when you feel that you are fine, and I am fine, and everyone is fine. So it always helps. What also helped me is being able to find a mentor who has been through something similar. So if you talk to a more senior PM and they tell you that, yeah, it's fine, I've been there, I felt the same way, I actually feel the same way every time I start a new job, it really helps for you to calm down a little bit and feel less anxiety at that point. So I highly recommend doing that. There are a lot of different platforms where you could find a mentor. You could also reach out to people directly, or find someone that you just know in your company as well. So yeah, there are multiple ways to do that. So I highly recommend doing that. Cool, prioritize. So prioritization is really the key skill of any PM, but very often we don't apply it to our own, let's say, life, professional life, personal life, right? We know how to prioritize our backlog, we know how to prioritize our ideas, customer feedback, but then when it comes to you prioritizing your own to-do list, it's so hard. So yeah, at this point, if you are trying to do everything at once, I would really recommend you to understand your company priorities first, and then plan your time according to those. Because again, you can't do everything at once, and it's important for you to understand what would bring most value to your company at this point, and that depends on the company's priority, right? So being clear on those will help you also prioritize your own to-do list. Cool, and then plan. Again, creating a plan for the first couple of months is super important for you to be able to succeed in your role, because it's the same as a roadmap, right? How do you get somewhere if you don't know where you're going, right? You just get somewhere, but then I'm not sure that's the right place you want to be at. So planning, super important. And let's see how we can plan things. So I've divided our plan into 3 months. So we're going to talk about the first one, second one, and third one. And the first one, I think, is, well, all of them are very important, but I think the first one is super important just because it's your time to take your time and just learn about everything that's happening in your company. So I really like this parrot, how he's like attentively listening to everything, because I think that's what PMs in their first month should be doing. So what I would start with, I would first get an understanding of the expectations, right? It can be both your own expectations from this experience, from this company that you have joined, can be your own, to-do list that you want to get from this experience as a PM, but it's always also about the expectations from others, from you, right? It can be expectations of your manager, expectations of your stakeholders, your teammates, right? Your just everyone you'll be working with, really. And some people, create stakeholder management spreadsheet. Some people create just a Miro board where they map out what everyone is expecting of them. But I really recommend just writing everything down. You can make notes after the interviews where you would get the first impression as to what this company is expecting of you. But after you've joined the team, what I would recommend you do is have a one-to-one meetings with the key people you'll be working with. If it's a small startup, you can talk to everyone, no problem, right? If it's not too many people, you can tackle that. But if it's a huge company, you will never be able to speak to everyone. So from here, I would maybe select a couple of key people that you'll be working with and start with them and try to gauge their expectations, write them down, and then maybe validate them with your manager as well, what they think about these expectations, if they're okay or not. So I would do that. One-to-ones are an amazing opportunity for you to learn more about your company, your team, and not only professionally, right, but also personally. So highly recommend you do that. Also understand these days, a lot of people are working remotely, but if you happen to be in the same city with your teammates, then it's an amazing opportunity for you to go out for lunches together or grab a coffee or, even go for, some sports together, something like that. It's always a good way to connect with people. So try and use that first month to understand the expectations of the others, and always take notes of them, because at the end we're going to come back to this, but we'll have to go through that list of expectations very often. Right, next one is company vision and goals. Well, this one is sometimes written somewhere, so it can be in your company's knowledge base, or it can even be available on the website. But sometimes it isn't, right? Depending on the stage of the company, it can just live in people's heads, and everyone sort of knows what it is, but no one can really explain it. It depends. But for you as a PM, it's very, very important to be clear on this, on where the company is moving, where the product is moving, where are the goals, and things like that. So at this point, I would recommend you ask direct questions about that from your manager, from your C-suite, and just maybe even get them together, right, to get this out of their heads if it's not written anywhere. Could be your first quick win. So why not? Cool. Right. Next one is understanding the product. Well, this one goes without saying, I guess, but it can also be both a very huge thing, right? If your product is very complex and it has a lot of different modules, where it's very technical, but it also can be an easy thing depending on what the product does and what's the stage of it. But it's very important to understand how it works, because you are going to be the primary product expert going on, right? So at this point, you can take time to user test it, ask your friends to test it, ask for their feedback, give your own feedback, or maybe take a note of your own feedback. You can then communicate it later. But just take this time to really familiarize yourself with the product, how it works, and what you like about it, what you don't, things like that. You'll be able to work on them later. Right, next one, who the customer is. At this point, you also depends on the company, so you can have some documentation on the customers. Maybe there are some notes from user interviews, maybe there are some jobs to be done written, or user personas described somewhere. So if they are described somewhere, that's amazing. You just go there, you read, and great, that's amazing, you know everything. But very often it's not written anywhere, and so you have to ask people questions. You might need to join some interviews to just listen in, just really understand what language your customers are speaking, what terms they're using, and things like that. So again, you have to be flexible here with your methods, but if there is nothing written about it, you might need to do a bit more work in order to understand the customers better. Great, business model. This one is, well, obviously also super important, because you, as a PM, you need to understand really well how the product and the company is working, how is it making money, right? What's the main value it's bringing? What's the, what's the target audience, both in short term and also long term, right? Where are you heading with it, and how are you going to sustain it over time? So again, this one can be very obvious from some dashboards that you might have, or you might have some software that you could be using for that. But sometimes you need to also ask additional questions. And again, it's super normal to be asking any questions whatsoever and not worry about looking silly or anything like that. So yeah, just remember that. Cool. And team and processes. Well, this one is sort of aligns everything that we just discussed, but really understanding what teams are out there in the organization, who you will be working with, who you won't be working with, right? What's the hierarchy of your team structure, who's making decisions, right? Who isn't making decisions, things like that. It's super important to understand that. Again, if it's not visualized anywhere, feel free to do that. And it could, again, be another thing, another piece of value that you bring to this company at the very early time of you joining. So it's an amazing quick win as well for you to show how valuable you could be for the organization. And it's really easy to do as well, right? You can just go into Miro and quickly visualize it when you speak to someone who's describing it to you, or you could use, I don't know, Draw or some other tools that are available out there. So it's really easy to do. And yeah, I recommend you do that for your own benefit, but also for the others. Cool. And then processes, right? This one can be quite complex. If it's a huge organization, there might be a lot of processes going on around. But on the other hand, if it's a startup, it can be a bit chaotic and there might not be any processes whatsoever. So yeah, at this point, you just go with the flow and see what's happening. And then if there are any processes, also make sure you take a note of them, or maybe they're described somewhere. But if not, at this point, you can also think about what are your impressions of the existing processes or the lack of them. So yeah, make sure you cover that as well. Right, so assuming you've gone through your first month and you've listened to everything and you've been very attentive, the next month is for you to be able to evaluate things. So at this point, you can start, speaking up a little bit. You can start joining discussions with key stakeholders. These, well, probably they already have some recurrent meetings happening that you could join. If you're not added to them by your teammates, you could ask, if you feel a bit confident already, you can ask to be added to those, to just maybe listen in, right? You don't have to actively participate in them, but just maybe listen in and understand what kinds of things they're discussing, what is the agenda, who's leading meetings, or things like that. It's it's very interesting, first of all, but also very important for you in the long term. Start evaluating the roadmap. Well, this one is very interesting, in my opinion. So product roadmap is usually documented somewhere. And so for you as a PM, it's important to not only understand where this is heading, but also what's the long-term goal, right? If the company is working on this, I don't know, product or feature, then why are they working on this one and not 100 of other ideas that they had, right? You can use this time to understand, why the decision has been made to start working on this, addressing this problem, for example, and not the other one. So yeah, feel free to ask questions, feel free to just maybe like shadow people and just see what they do, how they make decisions, how they work, how they go through the rest of the product life cycle, and also take notes, right? Because later on you will have to be making those decisions very likely. So yeah, just see how things are going, and if you have any opinions about them, keep notes of them, and you can then discuss them with your teams and suggest some other ways to improve them potentially. Right, next one is understanding what sort of data is collected about your product. Well, this one is can be either very easy or very challenging. It really depends on a couple of factors. The first one is whether there is any data collected at all, right? Because sometimes companies might not have any analytics installed yet, depends on the company and on the stage of it. But if they don't have any analytics installed, I would highly recommend you suggest them to do that, because the quicker you start gathering data, the quicker you can get some insights from it, right? So yeah, make sure you initiate that if it's not happening already. However, if it is installed and you can access some dashboards or I don't know, analytics tools that they're using, then it's an amazing time for you to dig into it and try to really see what events are there, what's being tracked. Maybe you have ideas of what could be tracked, but it isn't. So also take notes of that, and yeah, play around with the data there. It's very interesting, and it will also help you in the long run if you familiarize yourself with the tools that your company is using. Because there are a couple of like leaders in the market of analytics, right, that you could be familiar with, but sometimes it can be smaller tools that you haven't had a chance to work with. Also, what I would advise here is, if you haven't had a chance to work with any analytical tools yet, there are a couple of products out there, like, I don't know, I think Amplitude has a premium account. So you could, even before you join the company, you could sign up for a free account and just see, how it's working really, because if you have never used it, how do you know, right? So I would just, maybe log in, add some dummy data and play around a little bit, so that I feel a bit more comfortable when, I join the company and then they're using this tool. So yeah, highly recommend doing that as well. Very often there are premium tiers, so you can do that for free. Cool. And finally, start focusing on smaller tasks on the roadmap. I think this one is, right, Nitin, the tool name is Amplitude, but that's just one of the tools that you could be using. Yeah, so that's just an example of the one that I know is free. You can Google the other ones that your company might be using. It's also a good question to ask during your interviews what analytics tools you're using, and then take that into your preparation period before you start a job. Cool. Okay, and finally, start focusing on smaller tasks. I think at the end of your second month, you should be feeling quite confident with, everything you've learned from your first month, right? At this point, the company vision, goals, how the product works, who the customer is, you maybe talk to a couple of customers already, the business model, the whole team. So at this point, you should be more or less comfortable to understand, what quick wins you could be working on. You don't have to start leading, everything, because that's going to be a lot, but you could start, helping the other people who are leading these things at the moment to work on them, right? For example, if you see on the roadmap that, there is feature A coming up in 2 months, you could volunteer and say that, hey, I can help doing some discovery on it, or, you know, I could help and interview customers about it, or, you know, I could help and write some documentation about it, things like that. Really, you could start being more proactive and start making some quick wins, or just dive deeper and try to understand what you could be helpful with. Also, at this point, you could just, you know, approach your teammates and ask them, hey, how can I help you with your work that you're doing on this feature at the moment, right? Do you need any QA help on it? Or do you need any, I don't know, something else, right? So there are always a lot of things going on at the same time. So at this point, if you feel confident, make sure you are proactive and you are starting to lead a bit more of these things. And assuming you've done it through month 2, you're now in month 3, which is, you know, your time to shine. And this is your time to start acting. This is your time to, you know, maybe have a first release of a feature that, you know, you started working on during month 2, or it can be just establishing a new process for your team, right? If you saw that there was no process and you had an idea of how you could improve it or optimize it, that could be another win. At this point, you can also show your team that you're confident on running on your own. This can mean leading some meetings, sometimes joining meetings, sometimes leading them, maybe some, I don't know, workshops, strategy meetings, things like that. So it's good to show that you are okay with doing this on your own. You still might need help from others, some support, right? But it's good to show that you are more or less confident on doing your own thing. Also, at this point, I would say it's good to start taking over the rest of your expectations and the rest of your responsibilities that you have understood in your first month. So that's why it's always good to take notes of these. You can then start addressing your feedback that you've been gathering during this time. So if you had any notes from your first 2 months, feel free to start, you know, sharing your thoughts about them, asking teams for some additional feedback for you, and so you can start, you know, improving processes and product in your company as well. Great. So you'll tell me, yeah, Iryna, that sounds great. But, you know, what do I do next? I'm a bit lost. It's been like 3 months. And so what happens next? What do I do next? And I'll tell you that there are 3 things that I would recommend you do. The first one, in order to measure your success, right? Or failure. Well, I hope success. So yeah, just joking. So first of all, feel free to always ask for feedback, but at this point, definitely ask for feedback. So based on these expectations that you have set at the beginning of your first month, feel free to ask for feedback from these people. What do they think? How you have done, right? Whether, you know, you've done great, whether or not, what did they like about you in the company, what they didn't, what could be improved, right? Because it's some things could always be improved. So that's your opportunity to become better at your role within the next, you know, certain period. So yeah, I'd say never be afraid of asking for feedback, because it might feel a bit frightening at the beginning, but then if you realize that this is your opportunity to become better, then this is your, you know, golden key to success, really. If you ask for feedback, this is your chance to become better. So definitely always do that. Well, some people can also give it to you directly, right? But then some people don't really open up that much so that they can give it to you directly. So yeah, sometimes you need to ask about it, which is fine as well. Right, go back to your initial plan, right? So this plan that we created for the first month, just go back to it and see what have you done, what you haven't, right? Have you ticked all of the boxes? Have you, have you understood the product? Well, yes or no. Have you understood who the customer is? Yes or no, and things like that. Sometimes you might feel like, well, yeah, I sort of understand who the customer is, but, you know, I don't have a full picture yet, things like that, which is also fine. Just take a note of that. And then how did you meet or exceed the expectations, right? So that, let's say, a mirror board that you created when you had one-to-ones with your team members and your manager and your stakeholders, go back to that and see, evaluate from your own perspective whether you have met, exceeded the expectations or not. After that, I would advise you go back to your, let's say, manager with all of this and then ask them to evaluate it from their side, right? What do they think about you meeting or exceeding these expectations? What do they think about this initial plan? Have you ticked all boxes or not? Because, you know, different people might have different perspectives. And so, for example, if they think that you haven't ticked all boxes, maybe, you know, you just haven't communicated that to them. And that gives you a little signal that you might need to over communicate things sometimes, and you need to be more open about what you do in your role as a PM. Cool, great. So if all of this went well, you're like, wow, great, amazing. I've done a great job during the first 90 days. What do I do next? And I think at this point, you should evaluate for yourself whether it's a good match for you or not, whether, you know, yourself and a company, whether you match, whether you have this, whether you have this match really. So the first 3 months is also usually a probation period in most companies. I know that sometimes it can be, I don't know, 1 month, or it can be 6 months, or there might not be a probation period at all, but very often I'd say it's 3 months. So it's your opportunity to understand whether this company is the right place for you, whether, you know, this is where you want to be spending your time with, which is very important because you spend so much time at work, or if this is people you want to work with, right? Are these people, are you comfortable to work with these people, right? Do they inspire you? Do you like talking to them? This is important as well. And also, if this is a company where you would be able to grow, right? What are your opportunities to become better at your job and how you do things, if this is where you could learn more and become a better expert in the future. So just try to understand that and decide for yourself if this is something that works for you. After that, discuss it with your manager, right? Discuss how you both feel about yourself and a company, whether it's working the way you expected and whether everything is okay. It might not be, and this is a good opportunity for you to discuss this, right? So if you feel like it isn't a good match, then always try to fix it before breaking it, right? If you feel like, you know, there are time zone differences and you have meetings at 10 p.m. and this is a deal breaker for you, right? Because, you know, you have kids and you go to sleep at 9 p.m., for example, I don't know, but, you know, just an example, then you might need to communicate that to your manager instead of just quitting. Maybe you could rearrange these meetings, or, you know, people can be more flexible with adding you to these meetings and things like that. There are always things that could be negotiated. So yeah, always take advantage of that. Cool. However, if it is a good match and you both feel like this is working well, I'd say the next most logical step is for you to try and plan your next steps, right? Just like you planned the first 3 months, you might want to plan the next 3 months, 6 months, I don't know, a year maybe. And well, sometimes it depends on how your company is planning things and what goal setting frameworks they use. So it's always just easier to follow that, right? But sometimes, you can just do your own thing, right? You can use the same format you had for the first 90 days, or you could discuss with your team what they are doing and how do they track their goals. So yeah, you have to see and be a bit flexible here, but I think the easiest way is just to stick to whatever your company is doing and do the same. I thought I'd just cover a couple of most popular goal setting frameworks for you to be aware of. Maybe you know about them, but I'd say these 3 are most common ones. So the first one is OKRs, objectives and key results. I think this one is coming from I think Intel, which is where they started. And then I think companies like Google started adopting it, and it's become very, very popular these days. So yeah, if you're interested, you can Google a bit more about it. But it's a fairly easy framework that you could follow, and it proved to be working well in these large companies. So yeah, just Google that if you haven't heard about it before. I know there's also a book about it, which I haven't read. I just read a summary of it somewhere, but yeah, I've been told that it's a good one. So yeah, maybe Google that one as well. Cool. Another one is SMART goals, which is the one that probably everyone has heard of. SMART stands for specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-bound, which is quite self-explanatory, but it's important to understand that your goals have to be like attainable, right? They don't have to be out of the planet. They have to be something that you could do. Well, this is a bit arguable because at the OKRs framework, people sometimes set a bit more a bit more aspiring goals so that they reach 60 or 70%, but then they still extend their ability to reach this goal. So yeah, just see which one you like more and go with that. And finally, backward goals. This one is similar to reverse engineering idea that you might have heard of, which is where you have the you have the goal at the moment, and then you know what you should do before that one is due to happen, right? If you want to do let's say product release on January 15th, then on January 10th, you might want to have tested it. On January 1st, you might have wanted to put it on staging, things like that. So you just work backwards from your final goal. Yeah, that's the idea. Cool. All right. And so just to summarize all of what we have just been discussing, again, I think my main takeaway from all of this is to always, always, always have a plan, and to also always discuss it and align it with your manager before starting to work on that plan. But yeah, always come prepared, and it's going to help you in the long run for sure. Don't try to do everything at once. Prioritize. Again, as product managers, this is your key skill, and just make sure you apply that to your own to-do list and to your own life, and that's going to be super helpful for your mental health, and for you, in order for you not to burn out in a very short period of time. So yeah, definitely always prioritize, and just remember that you can't do everything today. It has to be split out. And finally, remember that you don't need to know everything. Just know the next thing you have to do, right? We are not encyclopedias. We're not like Google search engines, right? We can't know everything. And so every time we as PMs join a new company, we are coming there in order to bring value to the company, right? To share our experiences, our ideas, but it's also for us to learn something new, right? If there is nothing you will be learning in a new company because you already know everything, then what's the point of you joining that company, right? Because it's always your area to grow. So yeah, just don't be stressed about not knowing everything. It's absolutely fine, and you are an amazing product manager and you're going to do great. But yeah, it's important for you to stay focused on your role and your work and doing a great job, and you'll definitely get there for sure. Definitely. Yeah, I definitely think all of you guys are doing an amazing job with learning and attending workshops like this, and also doing some longer term programs. So yeah, just remember that you are doing great, and yeah, you'll be there as well. Cool, amazing. That's all from me today. I'll happily jump into any of your questions if there are any.
Great. This was awesome, Iryna. I think a very, very insightful session. And the best part about the session is how simply it was conducted and how simple you made things for us to understand, as a 90. Now I'm excited to become a product manager in 90 days.
Nice, amazing. Thank you.
Part is that. And now we would like to take certain questions, to take certain, and I would just start with one question here, right? Now, you told us everything, a roadmap to become a product manager in 90 days. Now, what are some very common mistakes that you see that product managers make the moment they've started out? Because I feel everybody's so excited, in the first 3 months of proving themselves and proving their talent and skills. So, and they end up making some mistakes, right? And it might just be imposter syndrome as well, where they're doubting their own skills. So what is it that, would avoid, leading them to imposter syndrome, or maybe make those common mistakes? Could you just point them out?
Yeah, sure. So I think two things come to my mind. The first one is trying to work very long hours in order to do everything, right? Because when you join a new company, you're like, great, this is amazing. I'm gonna, fix all of it now, and I'm gonna do everything. I'm gonna work from 6 a.m. till 6 a.m. every day, and I'm gonna do everything. But this is not a long-term solution, right? You'll burn out in a week probably if you do that. So yeah, I think everyone in your company understands that there is a limited amount of time, and if you can't do everything in this amount of time, then maybe the expectations are set wrong, right? Maybe it's not achievable. So just being open about it and trying to communicate that it's too much. I can't do it this week. Maybe I'll do it next week. So things like that. And also the second one, I think. Again, trying to fix everything right away. So I know it's very easy to, see this huge backlog and you're like, great, yes, let's do these 5 things during the next sprint. But it's very, very important for the new product manager to understand how things are working first. So really take the time to understand the processes first. How are things working, instead of giving your opinions right away about this should be changed and that should be fixed, and being very straightforward about things. So it's very, very important to take that time and just understand the environment a bit better, I think.
I think patience is the key. So you have to be patient, like
exactly.
You said, first, and then you come to that evaluation phase and giving your opinions, right? All right.
Exactly.
So I will take one question, at least from here. Vinod has asked us a question. How does 30, 60, and 90 days theory work if one joined from home or work from home situation rather than directly from office? So does this work? Is the same theory and, formulas apply there?
Yeah, I mean, if you asked me that, like, I don't know, 2 years ago, whenever the pandemic started, I wouldn't know what to say. But I think at this point, everyone has gotten so used to working remotely. And even at the moment, I'm at the office, right? But most of the time working from home, even though we live in the same city with my colleagues. So yeah, I feel like it would be the same. And I feel like it would even save your time, right? You don't have to travel to customer interviews for like an hour one way. You can just join Zoom and it takes 10 seconds, right? So I feel like it's even more efficient than it was before. So yeah, I'd say it's pretty much the same.
Yeah. And you had raised a very interesting point, like even after that 90 days, if you have gone through and you come to know that maybe you're not a product person. So Niket here has one question, that what if after 3 months, I change my mind and I don't want to work in the organization? Will it make a bad impression about me that I couldn't understand the product well, because it would be tough for anyone to justify? So do you think quitting after 90 days would, or maybe the organization would be something that's like play bad on your resume or role?
Resume, yeah. I mean, I think it's absolutely fine. That's why it's called probation period, right? It's not a probation of you. It's like a probation of like a two-way street, really, right? You are trying to understand if this is the right company for you, but this is also an opportunity for your company to understand if you are a good match for them. So I'd say it's absolutely fine to quit after 3 months, and this is what you should do if you feel like this is not a good match, because why commit to something for long term if you don't like it already? Right. So yeah, definitely. But also, again, as I said, try to fix things before breaking them. If there are some things that could be improved, always try to do that before quitting forever. So yeah.
So that's a very sound advice, right? And I think one question that again Nitin has here in the chat window, and I think we all would love to know that, is how can someone prepare themselves for this product management journey? Now, this is not got anything to do with 90 days as a product manager, but
yeah.
let's are preparing and we want to get into the role. What do you think has been your personal experience in preparing for the role, or one should consider, once they're taking the switch?
Yeah, well, this is I'd say a rather complex question, but I'll try to answer it. So I think there are a couple of ways to become a product manager, right? I think the easiest one that everyone is talking about is trying to make that switch within your current company. So for example, if you're a SaaS manager, for example, it's always easier to start helping the product team a little bit and try to, help them with some problems, and then you'll get some of those responsibilities, and then it's always easier to do that from your own company. Now, I know sometimes it's not possible because your company might not have a product management function, or different things happen. So if you decide to switch the companies, then it might be a bit more challenging, because if you look at the vacancies out there, very often it says 2 to 5 years of experience for a junior role. So it's funny, but this is what I see sometimes as well. But what I'd say you could do here is try to get that experience from somewhere, right? You could try to do some pro bono projects, or you could try to help, if your friends are working on a startup, offer your help, hey guys, I can do this and this and that. Do you need any help? It's completely free. I just want to, work on my portfolio and my resume. Or you could also start doing your own pet projects, right? Launch your own website, create your own prototype, try doing interviews with your friends, things like that, or your neighbors, or, your family, or somewhere. But yeah, you can try and find things that you could be doing to get that experience. But I also think there are some really good courses or books that you could be reading in the meantime. I think the book that really helped me with being more comfortable to speak into other people is The Mom Test. I'm not sure, maybe I'll share the link afterwards, but it's very short. It's very easy to read. You can literally read it in a day or two, and it's an amazing one. So I highly recommend that one. Or there is also Inspired by Marty Kagan, which also shows and describes a lot of what PM is doing, how they work with different departments and things like that, which is also a good way to understand the PM role a bit better.
So that's awesome. I'm sure most of them must have just logged on to Amazon to see the mom test.
Order.
So we'll all be ordering these books, ahead, so that we can prepare ourselves better. Well, Iryna, it has been an absolute pleasure having you here with us. And like I said, the way you presented the concepts, the way you presented the entire, roadmap and the journey has been so simple and so delightful. Loved your presentation. I love the birds chirping there. It all made sense. I'm sure everybody in the chat window itself, everybody is so thankful for the, mom test. See, someone has even shared the link. So everybody's so thankful for the session ahead.
Thank you so much, guys. Yeah, amazing. Thank you so much for having me.
No, we're grateful to have you here, and I'm sure we can have you here, on much more often, for other events.
Sure.
We'd love to have you here. So thank you so much. I'm sure all of
you
say your thank you. And that being said, also, I would love everybody to give a huge shout out to Iryna, give a huge shout out to Insaid on your LinkedIn pages, on your social media pages. All these thank you should also, translate there. Would love to see your responses on LinkedIn and other social media channel, right? So thank you so much, Iryna, once again. And
amazing. Thank you so much. Amazing energy in here, very engaging. So thanks a lot for having me today. Thank you so much.
And for everyone who's here still tuned with us, let me tell you that there are going to be more sessions. Just sharing my screen on a very, very quick note. Today was Iryna who talked about first 90 days as a product manager. Tomorrow, we're going to have Daniel Doran, and he's going to talk about calming the chaos in the world of product management, followed by Mara Kaiser, who will be talking about moving into product management if you don't have any experience. And then in last 18th, we're going to have Christo Guzen, who's going to talk about a very different aspect of product manager, that is an anti-fragile product manager. So we would love to have you all 8 p.m. sharp. The event is on YouTube Live. The event will definitely, the links have been shared. And, certainly stay connected with us on Euro Product Week. Use your hashtags Insaid. Please do post about, thanks to your speakers. Share your learnings, post your feedback, everything on our social media, especially on LinkedIn. And thank you so much, Iryna, once again. Right. So it's bye-bye from our end. Thank you so much. Everybody can drop off.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.